changes and figuring out where, what direction these maps need to go in. So this is just a first attempt at looking at these. But just to remind you all, we've got our meeting etiquettes and values that we've gone through at the last couple of meetings. So we're going to be doing decision-making through collaboration and active participation. We will be doing consensus work in both our small groups, and then we'll come back together at various points tonight, and we will try to come to consensus as a whole group before we make any recommendations for changes to these. And so our agenda for the night, we are going to spend a little bit of time looking at the design workshop results. You all should have copies that look like this, and these came to you in an email a couple weeks ago. So you might have already reviewed them. We won't spend a ton of time on this, but I did want to point out some of the feedback from these workshops that resulted in the maps that we're going to look at. And then if you have questions about the results, we can talk about that. We'll have about 30 minutes. We're going to then work on the future land use map for about an hour and a half, and then we'll have dinner probably about 5 o'clock. So that is the first half of the meeting. Second half of the meeting, we'll be looking at the transportation maps. There's a couple different ones. And the way that these reviews are going to work is we will break into small groups. You'll have a facilitator at your table who can help with some note-taking or answering questions. And you will be looking at the maps, determining what's missing, what needs to be changed, answering questions, that sort of thing. And then you will be identifying your changes together via consensus before we come back as a group to figure out what we want to bring forward to, as a whole group, if that makes sense. So future land use map first, transportation maps next. But before we get into anything, does everybody know where the bathrooms are? You go down the hall, they're kind of on this side of the building over here. Everybody good with that? Okay, so dinner at 5 o'clock. Everybody should have a parking pass. If you didn't get one, I can hand some more out. And then the only other update is that we are going to make some more changes. I know we just did some changes to the schedule, but we are going to pivot a little bit. We are now shooting for a September adoption date instead of August. So we're going to add another month to the process. And we are going to add an April meeting to continue reviewing policies and actions. Our March 16th meeting, we were going to start working on policies and actions, but instead we're going to kind of reserve that meeting to go back through the vision statement if there's any lingering concerns. It'll be kind of an overflow if we have to look at some more questions about the maps, if we don't get through it all today. And then we can continue talking a little bit more about the policy problems, because I feel like maybe we didn't get all the feedback from that the last time. So
and we will also talk about engagement, which was April, but now is May.
Yeah. So, oh, that's weird. Is it supposed to do that? The microphone? So it was going to be an April engagement session. I don't really like that. Let's try. Do I have to do that? Okay, thank you. We were going to have an April public engagement session. That is now going to be pushed to May. And so we are proposing that we add an April meeting for you all. We'll send out an email and see how many can attend, if that date looks good, or if we need to look at another date. And then proposing to add a July meeting date because we are pushing that process. So we'll send all of this in an email. We'll ask if those new dates work for everybody. But those are some of the changes that we're proposing so that we can add a little bit more time to the process and give you some more time to do reviews, if that sounds good. So any questions about the schedule? No. So like I mentioned, we're going to move into small groups. You all will have facilitators. We'll get feedback on the maps, and then we'll review it together at the end. But before we do that, does anybody have questions about this process or like what we're looking at tonight before we just jump into map reviews? No? Okay, so before we move into groups, the first part of this meeting, we are going to be looking at the future land use map. And you're going to see a couple different documents. So you're going to see this table that has the descriptions of the future land use character areas. This comes directly out of our adopted comprehensive plan. The things that are in red are staff's proposed additions or changes, and then everything else is already adopted in the plan. So what we're looking at are some new character areas, and we're looking at some changes to some of the existing things. So we'll go through that. And then you'll also have a resilience highlight area, which is kind of a close-up. And then you should have a, oh no, this is the resilience area. This has all of the 40,000 acres or so. And then you should have a highlight area map that is more of a close-up of just the main corridor strip.
Can we review the design workshop?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Sorry, I'm already off track. So these are gonna be the first maps that we look at, but I did wanna go over the design workshop results. And Dina, we've got parking passes, bathrooms are over there if you need to take a break, and then food's gonna come at 5 just to catch you up on what we talked about.
And Dina, I just wanna make sure, did you park in the parking deck?
Yeah, over here.
Okay. So did anybody not get a chance to look at the results from the design workshops? They came in an email a couple weeks ago. It's been on the website, but does this look unfamiliar to anybody? There are a couple different pages. The map changes that we're recommending come out of a lot of these. So if you see, like on the downtown page, it shows the results. Most people wanted to have the main historic town center as the boundaries of our walkable destination center. So you'll see that reflected in the changes here. So that's kind of one way to look at this, is you can see where these recommendations come from in terms of the design workshop results. So I'll just give you a minute to look at that, and then we can talk about any questions.
Oh, look at it, I'm just kind of curious, between A and B, I guess that's Patton Cove Road.
Are you on downtown?
Yeah, on the downtown.
Mhm.
That's kind of a commercial, not industrial area, but that wouldn't be considered mixed use type of downtown. That would just be a commercial zone, or the areas over where the Zingles are.
What is your question?
I guess maybe it's the semantics, downtown
These two.
is area B, but between A and B, that whole corridor is
Mhm.
kind of a commercial zone.
Yep.
That's not really considered a downtown, it's just a commercial zone.
Yeah, so if you look at some of the land use character areas, there are various kind of levels of commercial zones. So we've got mixed use neighborhood, which is at the lowest level where you've got residential as the priority. Then it goes up to mixed use 1. And then when you get to mixed use 2, that's really more industrial or campus style development. But in the pink village center and walkable destination center, that's where it's prioritizing pedestrian kind of tight grid style development.
And you gotta put in on your imagination, Kath, and imagine what we want to be there, not what is there now.
Thank you, sorry.
Shannon, were these the 4 choices or were there, okay,
Yeah.
so that's why we're not seeing walkability extended beyond Ingalls to where there are lots of people who live in apartments.
This does not equate to not extending walkability infrastructure. This is more about if we were going to have a focused wayfinding, if we were gonna have, more priority kind of grid style or multimodal transportation in certain areas, If we wanted to look at reducing parking requirements, where would it be most appropriate to have like a traditional downtown area? That doesn't mean that there won't be priority sidewalk areas anywhere else. But the question that we were asking is, where do you wanna see a mixed use downtown?
Right, but the four choices were these and it didn't
Yeah.
extend, none of them extended beyond that lot, that
Correct.
boundary of the current Ingles property, is that
That's
what we're
right,
looking at?
yeah. That's it's like, I think that's the truck stop is A.
Yeah.
So you'll see when we get to the actual draft land use plan map is we created, so you have mixed use center, is that what it's called?
Walkable destination center.
Walkable destination center.
And then village center.
And then we created a new zoning classification with that, not zoning classification, sorry, land use plan classification with that focus on more multimodal, more traditional design, and we designated that as village center.
Yeah, so some of the feedback that we were getting, oh, it's not sharing. What do I gotta do here? Is it this? Oh, there we go. Yeah, some of the feedback that we were getting, this is not the best map, hold on, let's see if there's a closer one. Here we go. Was that people felt like this was the downtown, but they felt like this corridor was really important for a variety of reasons. So that's where we're gonna talk when we get into small groups about this village center concept. And there's one in the west we're proposing, there's one in the eastern area. So this is the eastern part, kind of like the entrance to downtown, also that Riverwood US 70 intersection. So it would be a little bit different than like a downtown center, but it would have a lot of the features and intent of what people were saying when they wanted to have that connectivity down the corridor. So we're gonna talk about that more once we get into the groups. But does that make sense? We got kind of two different categories of like a downtown. What other kind of questions might be floating around about the results?
I have a question about this mixed use area one.
Mhm.
So it captures the like Beacon Village area where it's very much residential. There wouldn't be room to put commercial there. It's lots of little homes. I just wonder if that was like why.
Are you talking about, let's see.
I'm looking at this map.
You said the Beacon Village homes. Are you talking about,
Mill Village.
oh, up in here?
Yeah, it's the dark yellow,
Mhm.
which is mixed area one, but it's very residential. It's just a bunch of little mill village homes, like it wouldn't really be. I don't know
So
where you would put anything that was retail oriented there. It's all.
mixed use neighborhood would be the next step down. So that's, if you look, that's in this section, if you wanna read through that and think about whether that would be a more appropriate use, land use category for those areas.
Then especially look at that the column that's land use and the primary and secondary uses.
Yeah, so like, I mean, they're just homes. They're all little homes, so I don't see any, that's where we are, right? Yeah, like that wouldn't be
We're talking about kind of
commercial or
Richmond.
retail or
Residential
offices. It
is what
should
you're
just
saying.
be residential, mixed use neighborhood.
So then we'd wanna, that's where we'd wanna talk about mixed use neighborhood is the right land use class for it.
So you're saying mixed use
Yeah.
neighborhood and you're saying residential, and so I guess I'm just wanting to understand.
So the primary intended land use for mixed use neighborhood is single family detached cottage style, missing middle and manufactured homes, and multifamily. That's the primary intended use. Secondary uses, really depending on utility availability and other factors, could be neighborhood commercial, or some of those other things, but that, that's really gonna depend heavily on what the zoning district ends up being if there were changes to zoning. Whether it could convert into something like that, or maybe people are able to run a hair salon out of their garage, or, you know, it's kind of those divides, neighborhood level commercial.
I definitely think we should talk about that being
Agreed.
classed to mixed use neighborhood, because there's really nowhere to put anything
Agreed.
commercial in that area. I mean, there's one large piece of land, but it would really disturb all of that neighborhood for it to become.
Okay.
And there's
we
not a
have
category
markers.
that's just residential that doesn't allow any commercial?
Not really, because that's where you'd want to look at it from a rezoning perspective and be able to pick out areas that are just commercial versus ones that are more mixed use.
I mean, if there's the flexibility for someone to run a hair salon out of their basement, like I think that's a good thing, because it gives people the option to support themselves. So that's different from what I'm reading in mixed use area 1, which would be commercial use. It's not appropriate there.
So think about scale of development. So think about what would be like a little neighborhood store.
Right.
So you might have a little neighborhood store between that and where it gets into the more core downtown or the grid pattern, or you might have a tiny little cafe. And in general,
No,
Not there.
can't put any of that there.
and in general,
Yeah, like, you can't put any of that there. It's literally just residential, like there's.
No, I don't think that would be appropriate there.
well, right now it's zoned residential.
Correct.
So
As it
is
should.
that what it should stay for the next 20 years? That's the question you need to be asking as we're making recommendations.
I think mixed use neighborhood is the right, I mean, that's what it should be, because that's what, you know, that would still allow, right, someone to run a little business out of their home, but we don't, there really isn't room for a store there, you know, and it's all of that is walkable very easily to where the downtown is, where there will be stores, so it doesn't really even make sense to draw people to a store in the middle of a very, very residential neighborhood where kids are riding their bikes up and down the streets, and, you know, it's just not appropriate to bring that kind of traffic into that.
We're gonna give you markers and we're gonna ask that you draw boundaries on these maps to show us where cutoffs should be, where changes should be, and start really just marking it up.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be a change on that, because it would go from dark yellow to light yellow,
Light
right?
yellow, yeah, it would need to be
Um,
changed.
Seeing the same issue, you know, ever from the Cove over to Lido Cove along the Swannanoa Mountain south of I-40. A lot of that's just residential with maybe, but not much room for commercial or anything facility. So it's probably more like a mixed use neighborhood also.
Yeah, right now, if you look at the map that is currently adopted, pretty much everything down even up into our steepest slopes is mixed use 1. So we are looking at pulling that back in a lot of places, but there might be some other places that you all wanna pull that back. Do you see the difference between this is the current, everything is just mixed use 1? And how do we refine that to meet the goals of the community?
Yeah, I think we have to be careful in those areas where there are existing dense neighborhoods where kids are playing in the street, and, you know, we don't wanna bring in, even if it's a small store, we don't wanna bring that kind of traffic in where kids are riding their bikes in the street and people are walking their dogs. Like, it's not, in my mind, appropriate to do that to our neighbors.
Can I ask a question just about like the scope of our job as a committee? So it sounds like some of these issues are really about how things are zoned. And like in this committee, are we gonna get to that level? Or are we gonna just recommend like this should be light yellow, mixed use neighborhood? And then within that, someone else makes a decision about how everything is zoned. So it could theoretically all be zoned residential within a light yellow, which would, I think, support what you're saying.
Right.
But is that correct? Like, we're not actually gonna make that level of recommendations,
We don't
right?
have that, that's not in the purview of this process. That would be a recommendation in this plan. It would be something like audit the zoning ordinance to determine where there is a disconnect between the adopted future land use map and the current zoning so that those two things align. What we do have that we can provide at maybe the next meeting is a table that shows which zoning districts go with which land use character areas. That could give you some insight into how that works currently when we look at like rezoning proposals.
Do we have that table? Could we pull it up?
I could try to find it.
And
yeah,
the
give me a
zoning will
minute.
move maybe, so when you talk about changing zoning, like if you're looking at residential, you might move an R1 to an R3 to support more like dense
Right.
residential development, but we're gonna keep it residential. Or, right? That's what you're talking about.
I mean, it
We're
could
not gonna
change.
have the like ability to say that's what we should do, is that what we're saying? Or we can,
We don't have that as one of the reviews that we were gonna do as part of this process. That is a much bigger process. I mean, you've been through something
So
like
the
that.
land use plan map, that's what guides the audit of the zoning in that area. And that's what guides changes to that zoning.
So could this steering committee make a recommendation for specific areas that they are zoned residential? Like, could we, even though we're not gonna go parcel by parcel, could we say, we support this area of Beacon being zoned residential and not commercial? Like,
So you could have, for example, a policy or an action in the plan that says something, I'm trying
oh, here it is.
to. Right now, Beacon Village is zoned R1.
Yeah.
So you could have to protect the residential character of Beacon Village, have it remain R1.
Well, I'm not
There are
talking
parts
about
that
all
could
of
be
these.
R2 or R3
Right.
because it would allow people maybe to put more density in. I mean, R1 is not necessarily. I would wanna
R1,
look closer.
There we go.
R1 allows 2 units on each lot. And up to 8 units of multifamily.
R
Per
one,
acre, right?
you're talking about R one?
Yeah. Can't remember.
I mean, there are areas that are R1 that could certainly support having like triplex or quadplexes.
yeah,
And so in those areas that are in Beacon Village, you really could look at building a little bit more densely and getting some more affordable housing in there. I'm always just thinking about affordable housing, and
yeah.
that would be, R1 is pretty restrictive. And if you were zoned so that you could put in a quadplex instead of a duplex on these lots that are in that area, you could build in more affordable housing because it's just cheaper to build that
But
way.
it sounds like we could theoretically, if we all agreed on it, we could say in these specific areas, like, I'm not talking about like all of Beacon Village, like in these specific areas that we've identified that are mixed use neighborhood, to support the residential character and affordability, we would support like a zoning review, keeping everything residential and considering higher density. Like, is that an example of a thing that we could recommend?
Probably that would be separate actions within the step within the plan, but that is something you could support. Now, just a reminder that you guys look at it, the planning board looks at it, the board of commissioner looks at it, the public looks at it.
Right. But just to understand our scope, like, is that an example of a thing we could do?
Well, I was just gonna say, as someone who sits on the planning board,
Yeah.
I would find this invaluable to have when we get to look at it, to
Okay,
have that input from the community, because I think that would, I mean, that's what we're supposed to be looking at,
Well,
is
and
what
there's
the
just-
community needs.
There's not a lot of flat buildable area, right? And we need affordable housing. And so if you can zone it so that it supports a bit higher density, like bigger, more than a duplex on some of these buildable areas, then it would support affordable housing and it would be good for the community. And we just are limited in what we have out there. So we have these infill lots, like it would be good to see the ability to put a triplex or a quadplex to get that missing middle housing, because that's really like largely what we're missing.
Right.
And you just don't have a lot of flat buildable land outside of the floodplain that's easily accessible to the things that people need. So if you think about people who are living in affordable housing and maybe they're sharing one car, can they walk? Like if you can build more densely in an area where they can walk to get the things they need, that's what we should, in my mind, we should be considering that.
Okay, well, these are how the zoning district match those rural character areas. So you can kind of keep this in mind as you're looking at this map when we start, marking it up. But that just shows you that it's not that rural center is open use or that mixed use 2 is just employment. There's a range and it really depends on the context of the different parcels. So yeah, I think that's a good point.
To see
So-
it linked together.
So Britain is gonna put on our parking lot a policy or looking at how we, I don't wanna say maybe protect the character of the Beacon Village housing while
Supporting
exploring how to add some missing middle housing,
how we thread the needle.
how we thread the needle.
I mean, to me, it's also about, it's not just about protecting the character, it's also about protecting it for housing. Because of the amount of housing that we lost and the limited amount of land that we have for people to build housing on in Swannanoa after looking at the risk assessment.
Yeah.
And so it is actually also about prioritizing residential over commercial in those areas.
Okay. All right, well, are there any other, I think we're gonna get a lot into more of that in just a minute. Any other questions about results before we move on? Okay, so just before we move
I'm
in, yes,
sorry.
Kit?
This is a complete and total aside. My pad keeps giving me a message that it needs to be updated. It's gonna update within
I
an
got it, yeah.
hour if it doesn't. It's not, I mean, right now it's still showing it, but it's coming.
Yeah, you should all probably get that at some point tonight. I am
Just
very
keep
sorry.
hitting ignore.
But it doesn't give me an option. It just says it pops up right in here that it requires an update. It's past due.
Yeah,
And that if we don't either do it right now or it's gonna happen automatically within the hour.
You
yeah.
sound
It's-
stressed.
It is very good.
Should
You just hand it to one of us if it turns off, and we'll, I
I
think we
just
have
wondered if it
extras.
was just mine or if it was everybody.
It was doing that all morning. We have extras, we can like swap you out if it gets to that point. Okay, so we're gonna.
You're on TV right now.
We're gonna start moving into groups in just a minute. I'm trying to share my screen though.
She's really helpful.
I know, but
All right, so just to remind you, as we're going into this, this is not a zoning map. This is going to be the recommendations for land uses that will inform zoning decisions and all sorts of other things that we can talk about in a little bit. But it's our decision-making tool, so we don't need to be so specific like it is as parcel by parcel zoning map, so just keep that in mind. And then what we're gonna talk about specifically is changes to the map in terms of which land use character areas, and we also wanna get your feedback on 2 new character areas that we're proposing, which is the River Corridor and Village Center. Those do not exist right now. That is something that, based on public feedback, we are proposing to add that as brand new category in the comprehensive plan through the Swannanoa plan. So that's what we're talking about in this, for the next hour.
There was a walkable destination center already designated.
It was, but it was only the Beacon site.
And it was the only one in the county when we did the comp plan. And the hope is when we do the Candler corridor plan, that maybe we can find another one. But like you said, there's not a lot of flat, large tracts of land.
So someone with the numbers, right?
I think we can just count off.
Okay.
If you wanna start, you can be 1.
2,
3, 4, 1.
2, 3, 4.
1.
Oh, we're all in
Three
favor.
groups.
There's three
Three
groups.
Only 3 groups.
3.
One.
Perfect. We got it, my
All right,
bad.
so we'll do 1, table 1 over there, 2 here, and 3 over here.
what should we bring with us?
Bring your iPad and your maps. Bring everything.
Bring everything.
Bring it all.
In case somebody else needs to hold on.
Sit with 1, 2, 3 is in the corner.
Liz and Max. Max, you're over here.
I'm over there,
You're over here.
okay,
You are gonna help Liz.
okay.
Fern, you wanna sit with Shannon and help describe?
Together, you two will be an amazing.
whole person.
It's a whole person. That's really where it all. Hi, Leonard. How's it going? And we are going to collect everybody's suggested changes and try to have a conversation. It might be easier if you move back over here, but if you got a million plates and you wanna stay put, I understand that. So do you, I need a minute to pull up the map. Do you wanna start pulling out your group's changes? Okay. And we're doing All right, so I'm gonna put the future land use map up on the screen. And
Why don't we do all the changes and then we'll roll
I
them
can,
back?
I can only, what do you mean roll back?
Like,
We can do like a before and after.
so we'll call this, I don't know if we were group one, I don't remember. We'll call this group one.
Oh, you wanna do
With the
separate
change.
ones? We can do that, yeah, I can make different,
No.
What?
Change. So we have them all on there
Okay.
and then we have.
The gap is also making.
Alright, so the first change right
Yeah.
here.
There'd be sheet of practice.
Okay, hold on, I gotta figure out.
That takes a lot longer.
Usually
And you usually get
adults
hurt.
use.
Right on.
Like starting us.
Yeah, it is.
Because and when you start, for some reason it makes
Patent
it go.
Cove, this one right here, dentistry,
Yeah.
so you want me to circle that?
So this on this side.
I used to make, I never made apple pie, but I used to make them.
Oh, man. Let's see how this goes.
You do pears too.
MU, and this is group, what's your group number?
Then we only had one more, which is the,
Melco.
20 years, 20 years. My name is still gonna be.
Down in here? What's that? Oh, to the left of it?
No.
Okay. Oh, the whole thing? Okay.
well, not the whole thing, right? Just this, you see this part,
Mhm.
this part down here, like half of that.
This part right here?
Yeah.
What about it?
Right after that.
Half of where it is,
Like from here down?
Yeah.
that,
Where do you live, Matt?
I live in Beach Forest. So.
Okay.
Right now.
they were fine with the description.
Okay.
Here.
Where's group two's mouse?
Inspiration Way.
Hey, can you
Starts
go
off
down
at Sunset.
the
You ever been up Sunset Drive? It was a halfback. He's.
Where, what you got? Expanding, expansion?
I've been out of the north for so long.
Got
My grandfather
this.
five house goes there 95.
History number.
So me and my brother
Um,
built it once a year.
Seems like a.
Oh, okay. And he, yeah, I mean, he built out that.
So, and what is it, or a VC?
Yeah. That's just an excuse to go north, guys. We are.
Two?
Yeah, built his own house there. He lived there.
And then.
Village Center?
Portland Farms.
They're proposing Village Center be expanded.
Oh, yeah, that's further down.
That was after reform, that someone had to go.
You don't think that's just a suggestion?
Oh,
yeah, he may have.
Yeah, where are we?
Food or expo?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I trust you. B Meadows.
So maybe like this one, start like going around like that? So this one and this one.
Spoken to anybody who was
So
like
these two mixed use too?
a builder who was in there. But and I think he was like, well, you know, it's gonna happen to those houses.
Cheese and chow chow.
Mix it up.
Like
that not be village, correct, so that be, this is mixed use one, what about this one, this is mixed use one?
situations are.
One, that'll do it. Okay, and then this guy, we're talking about okay, I thought you said Edward Street, they wanted to do something.
Neighborhood residential.
Do you want to translate your note on this one? Or would you like me to?
Will do.
The neighborhood residential.
Yeah.
So
Fuller Center.
lower, all of Lower Beacon neighborhood residential?
She's
Neighborhood.
she's waiting for
Neighborhood
the buyout.
what is neighborhood?
Might
She's clear that
Mixed use neighborhood, okay. Oh, this is part of it,
Leave that
okay,
there.
I'm sorry.
That's all, this is upper,
Renting house.
already, this is already.
Well, you know what?
So this
I don't
whole
think it would have been nearly as bad if that.
We just carved out where the vet
Where it
office
was.
was.
Against the
First
bridge.
year.
It turned,
Yeah.
it blocked it up, made a dam, and I can
She's in a
definitely,
better
all that
situation.
water,
than
because
Oh,
the water that it wiped out Steve's in and
Transition.
the carpet, it came in to it from the back and pushed it out.
She's got sufficient income that she can still pay her mortgage on her house. and Edwards
Including
while
that
renting
one
her house.
person.
It's not
already
ideal, but she
My
can swing
neighbor
it.
is in that
Oh,
She can
situation.
kind of swing
Like,
it
it's hard.
and,
But that looks like more
and
family.
but to recover the equity of the home that she, on Edwards, that she bought in 2018, she
This is the area that we had a question
just
on.
had it rebuilt. She doesn't know,
This
you know,
was used to
initially
be-
she was looking for that because most of those organizations wanted you to stay for
Good.
5 years.
That's,
Pay that. Fuller Center's gonna, I think they reduced it to 3 for her.
Where the landfill used to be.
She had more money. she could put down.
yeah, I mean, some of that is like, we might designate something a certain land use type, but it might not be.
Right, so we
possible.
left it carved out because of the fact that it.
I think they actually came to her to be just to
Gotcha.
maybe, you know, it's like, you know, they had finished some other houses on the street and they wanted to do more.
Like, I bet you can do brown.
She told me, she was hesitant. They said, well, we can work with you, talk to us about the situation. So they worked out an arrangement.
Like this.
Okay. And then what's they putting up here?
They've done, I mean, they have some limitations, like they can't change the footprint of the house.
And the whole lot
So
of it's lit.
her original thought was, oh, we
That
can
is a MUN right now?
add a master bathroom. No, everybody just rebuilt it, basically.
Going to the road and there's a place
And
where
instead of
here's the
being,
road.
so she's
It's rock straight off.
in one.
And when the Army Corps of
This would be a really good
Contractors
area.
was there, just this, all these trees laying.
You know,
Just fell back against the bank.
she reduced the size of the other two areas, a little building.
Hey, look at that.
Last
Chick-fil-A, and I,
The DOT.
I said, you can't touch them. They're laying on that bank, you cannot.
Yeah, she should be, you know, once,
It's the same change everywhere or just one section?
You drag that down there, next time the water comes up, the road's gonna be in.
Well, it's already.
conservation program.
Okay.
Who's protecting the roads?
This is not the right map.
You know why this is on mixed use too, because this is retrofit.
They would, that's the way.
Then on the other
Fuller
side.
Center and the other
there's a lot of
organizations
them
were all building. They're all putting the
I guess you could just leave it.
So that
They go at the top,
So
split down
the
from
end
the
users,
Obviously.
that's interesting.
trees.
But we're
I don't
gonna
know
make
why
the
we
best
have
we can do.
Yeah.
You said everyone.
Touch that tree.
So it's kind of like, well, if we have another Halloween,
Can't touch
that's what
anything,
you
that
do.
touches those branches. That's
And it's also not
So
clear
not
what
two
that
separate
means.
ones, all
That's the
MUN?
only thing
You know,
that's
letters
gonna
can
help
support
that bank
flood
building.
insurance.
They use those to stabilize.
Probably, yes. So there's some question marks there, but she felt.
I said, no.
I think it's good for her.
I said, you got to
There's
in the truck with her calling me. I said, "Hell,
surgery and all
you
that.
can't saw that off the ground. You drive
I think
down here, there'll be no
there was a long time ago, we thought it
second it, but they
Second.
pretty much, I was out there every day. the Army Corps of Engineers.
So their group said to go.
And wrote it in book.
So,
I said, you
you
couldn't-
know, she can have that room. She's.
More weight.
I think they're taking all this. Yeah. Well, that room was her room. That was her room before the. She's gonna get her, how much being back, her own bathroom.
I said, that's my favorite. You're not stealing me. I said, I'm gonna show you, you go up here, you put it where I say.
Beth, what, was there a recommendation south of the interstate, or was it just a question to pose to the group?
I think Matt, what did you, I think we just wanted to ask the question and then I think we would defer to the people who live in Upper Beacon about
We're looking
that.
at, risk for
Yeah, people-
lands,
yeah.
like debris flows, we're also looking at changes in the rural character.
I can tell you where they are.
Landslide risk and whether it should be lower
They
density.
all congregated at my house.
Raising that question for the larger
Well,
group.
Tanya, you had them at your house, debris flow. So what was the question?
The question is, knowing that these were past debris flow areas, are they appropriate as MP1, or should they be MP1, or that was kind of the question.
Okay.
And then there was another group that already recommended a
My house is lucky.
A change for the other one.
but for my group, I think that was it.
You get the,
My house
village,
is still, got long.
do the village.
I got that one, yep.
The traffic calming.
Well, we're gonna get on the next maps, yeah. Okay, so is that all our maps, those three? Okay, you want me to start, how are we gonna do it, hand raise, discussion? Discussion.
Did a temporary fix, like a week after.
Yeah.
I don't know, I need somebody. All right, so we are going to look at what every group has asked about, and we're gonna try to come to some consensus about which changes you wanna see on the next version of the draft map, knowing that there's gonna be multiple versions. So one of the things that we're hearing from two separate groups is about this area to the west, near the Warren Wilson Road intersection. We have a small area of village center proposed. Two of the groups are saying we need to expand, from east to west, how large village center is. So I'm just gonna zoom in here. This is gonna be really ugly, but currently right now, it's this kind of square area, and there's a proposal to make it wider both directions, and another group had it going even further east to near Sherwood. I don't know if that's Sherwood Road or street, but. So can we have a conversation about that one change and how far an extent it should be going?
We were actually talking about the easternmost edge being the six-pack smokestack, like right in the intersection
New Salem.
of New Salem and 70.
Do you have the?
And the westernmost, I don't remember what we said, do you
The
remember?
west was because of that new development.
Far enough west that it allowed.
Like, near the horse property, between the, there's a trailer park there and the horse property.
That's where we drew our line.
And we wanna,
Graceful, yeah,
we wanna see traffic signal there because it's gonna be a.
yes, we want a stoplight and the, all the things.
So can we talk about, is there any consensus on where those boundaries should end? This is even further out one.
June, where's the other packet?
The other packet, I think, is over. So Sherwood Road, you said, what was the one that you said should be the cutoff, the east?
Salem,
New Salem.
New Salem to whatever that road is that goes up to the new housing apartments,
Yeah, there really isn't a road there. It'd be west of Sylvester.
yeah.
It would be the parcel that's west of Sylvester, because Sylvester is the.
Right?
What other group said the same thing, is that y'all? Yeah.
Do you wanna draw it on here?
I actually am gonna pull it up right here,
Yes.
maybe. So here's Sylvester.
Yeah,
Are we going further west than that?
yeah, because I would go to the boundary
To the-
of the next tract over.
I'm trying to look for the one I can zoom in on, here we go. Let's get in there. Okay, so here's the pink, this is the current
Yeah.
cutoff is based on a property line.
Right.
Yeah.
I would go, like, you've got the property that the mobile homes are on, and then the next property to the west before you get to the red barn.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I would do the western boundary of that property.
like almost where that line is,
So it's
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
there is a straight property line that runs, you can kind of see it in how
Right.
the tree line is
Right.
cut. So that would be the proposed boundary,
Yeah,
does
the
it,
housing development's gonna be on that track.
And it's not gonna go it all over onto the parcel where the barn is?
I don't think so, but I think that's all Seven Oaks, all the way up to the ridge, there up to the top of that one.
So
You
Brother
gotta
Wolf just
potentially
bought that.
expand
What?
to cover that way.
Which part did they buy?
So, the barn?
It's got a tunnel, it's got a US 70 address.
What does?
Brother Wolf just bought
Brother
some over
Wolf.
there?
Wait, what?
It brought some property right in through there, 9 acres or something.
Really?
Yeah,
They might have bought this here. Up here.
maybe so. Let's see if I still have that thing.
Let me pull it up and I can see who owns it.
Because there is
Okay,
another
it's
piece.
1920 US 70. They paid a little over $2 million.
Wow.
Say that again?
It's 1920 US 70 highway. They paid a little over $2 million. And they sold it to Brother Wolf Animal Rescue.
that is further east, here, so
Yeah.
here's that Sylvester Way, and actually that is currently listed as Village Center, where that
Yeah.
is. That building.
That's where that used car dealer used to be.
Oh, where the car dealership was.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
So going back to that, so yeah, that's right in here that we're looking at, that little building.
What the?
How do you ask for consensus?
I think they're gonna rescue dogs.
Do we wanna talk about, is there anything else we wanna talk about for going further west? Or can we get consensus on whether that is a good cutoff line at that tree line slash
So
property
this is,
line?
yes, this is, you can agree to it, this is, it's horrible and I hate it and I'm not. Let me restate.
It's about the.
But we're voting on right up to the barn property.
To the
yes.
barn, right?
Should the village center, or a village center be extended to right up to that barn, which the property line is right here where that tree
And
is?
Give me the cliff notes of the definition of village center.
It's a step down from walkable destination, so think about services and businesses that can be used by the local community.
Got it, yeah.
Good pizza company.
Place to buy toilet paper, you know?
So do
All
we
right.
have,
Okay, yeah. All right, so there's one change. What about the southern portion? Are there any, I'm unclear as to whether there were requests to do anything south of US 70 for Village Center.
I think we were okay with.
There are some businesses east of there on the south side of 70.
Talking about in here.
Yeah.
This is mixed use 2 currently.
But we were talking about extending it to New Salem, correct?
So, okay, so if you wanna look up here,
Not as much south as that.
where is New Salem?
New Salem is
Right here it is.
right there where,
Yeah.
right
You got the
there.
railroad tracks on the south side.
So,
on the north side of 70?
where's the one I was marking?
Right, is that what you had outlined?
To extend it to. Correct, that's what we said was to the Dollar General.
Yeah, because there was no place to walk. Where you could walk.
So here's art space,
Right,
and then you're talking about
Down
New
to
Salem
Six
being the
Pack.
cutoff for Village Center.
yeah, cause that's where the six pack is.
Were there any other proposed cutoffs, or is that the one we're looking at?
I think we had proposed to Buckeye Cove where the Dollar General is,
Yeah,
which is to the
a little
left.
bit to the west. Just because,
So that's the Dollar General right there?
Yeah, is that the
That
Dollar
right there is the
General?
Dollar General.
This guy.
And we just went a little bit further.
So then New
because-
Salem would be
Yeah.
even further than this.
I guess that would
Mostly
constitute
because
sidewalks.
of art space and Six Pack.
And the six pack.
Because there's so much foot traffic going.
And there's been so many
From-
accidents right there,
Right.
especially at the six pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause our space is right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we see consensus who agree on the New Salem as the new western or eastern portion of Village Center? So this, bringing in this whole area. Anybody opposed? Doesn't matter, there's consensus. Okay, so
Would you
then,
capture that railroad corridor as within that village center, or you gonna leave that the same colors you have there?
Wait, say
where are
that
you
again?
talking about?
Your railroad,
Where the
railroad
railroad
runs
tracks
all on
are
the south side
south.
of 70 along there.
We'd probably,
not
we would
developable.
just cut it at US
Yeah, it would be
70.
narrow probably, right?
Yeah.
So where do they
Unless,
wanna?
So wait, you wouldn't do it on both sides of 70?
well, that's a question, is we've got, what do we got? This is mini storage, so there's mini storage down there, there's Buckeye Cove Road here.
Yep.
The railroad is actually south of these properties.
Correct.
So do
It's a
you
rock
want that village corridor to go across both sides to where it meets mixed use too?
Yeah, I'd include the
Yeah.
six pack in it,
Yes.
so I.
Yes,
There's a breakfast
restaurant and a.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, it's the one that's at an angle.
Yeah.
Where is this that we're talking about?
it's like just to the, move your cursor
This
this
guy.
side,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the six pack.
They have,
We
yeah,
could
look
just
for the
put it-
breakfast shop and the six pack, and then they have like a refuse pile. They have like a lot full of junk.
Yeah.
So we could
It's
follow,
a rock yard.
we could follow the property line
Yeah.
to
Not the
just
rock yard,
bring
the other
them
side.
in.
There's
Yeah.
Oh,
On the other side,
on the other
yes.
side.
Yeah.
It's a rock yard and.
It's part of the rock yard. It's their
Oh.
overflow.
It's their overflow.
Yeah, they own that whole
We're probably
patch
gonna
of
have the
property
railroad in
from
the village center.
top of the red light all the way
Yeah, because
down.
they said they're gonna start.
Yeah,
Any
they
other
start to attract
changes or
people to-
discussion about village center in this one area? Or does that sound
Stops.
good? That's good.
And so this is a good point to look at that village center description
Yes.
and tell us if you wanna change that village center description or the primary and secondary use.
It's very weird terminology for that area, cause it is not like a village at all.
Correct.
But,
20 years.
you know-
20 years from now.
I mean, I guess, but I kinda hope we still have the breakfast shop, sorry.
I mean, I think the idea is creating some.
Vicky's
not going
anywhere.
anywhere.
Right there.
Right,
It's also aspirational,
well,
like what can you imagine being there?
I mean, I'm saying I don't necessarily want it to look like a village, but I'll read the description and see. It's denser housing, it includes commercial. Daily needs of the local community.
What was that last daily meeting?
Yeah,
It's
WC.
primarily intended to serve the daily needs of the local community. So that's like the breakfast shop.
Breakfast shop.
And, on its face, in theory, although it serves kids from various places. Transportation connections.
It seems appropriate.
Yeah.
Appropriate, yeah.
Do we wanna change the name of that category?
Say that again.
Do you wanna change the name of that category?
What do other places call that type of, like, what are some other options?
We can look and try to figure out a different name for it if you don't feel like that village.
When I think of a village, I think of like Farrington Village or some of these like fancy high-end places and other places in North Carolina, Biltmore Village. Like, I don't think of the breakfast shop. And I would like to retain the character of Swannanoa, so I would love to find something that more matches our
Okay.
vibe. But
Is
that's
every-
just my,
Is everybody okay with staff coming up with different names for that?
We use Beacon Village, using the
Right.
term village there, which is kind of smaller residential type of thing, so it seems kind of consistent.
I mean, historically, Beacon Village has been Beacon Village and it's its own thing, but like, I can't see people in Swannanoa being like referring to other parts of Swannanoa as a village. I don't know, like, what do y'all think?
It's the dip. That's what it's referred to.
The dip,
Mhm.
so can we just,
That's what it is. You tell anybody
We
from
can come up
Swannanoa,
with
you
some,
get it.
we can come up with some.
That terminology you may use in another part of the county though,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Yes.
Yes, it,
It doesn't,
Ah,
it's
I
not
see.
like it's gonna require us to name that section
Okay,
of
that's
the
fine.
village. It
this
just
would be
means-
amending the land use types in the comprehensive plan for the whole county.
And we have like 5 other ones to do, so
Yes, I know.
we can come up with some other options for you.
Yeah.
the purpose of it,
Semantics.
does the purpose of it seem like it matches?
I think
Yeah, I
so.
think the
Purpose
purpose
is
does.
fine.
Yep.
I think it's, I like the definition.
Okay. What about the primary and secondary land uses? And keep in mind that we're trying to keep this distinguished from what walkable destination center is. If they start getting too close, then is it even worth having a separate category? So we're looking at the
I like
secondary-
those uses as well. I thought there was good, if there was a distinction between the two.
Tina, I feel like you have a question.
Not yet.
I mean, in that corridor is also a school that we just talked about, and that's not listed.
That'd just be civic.
Yeah, that's civic.
In the part under proposed village center where it says density, it says 16 to 20 units per acre with a percentage of affordable units. That could be like 2%.
Typically, the
You
counties,
can't just say percentage.
yes,
It needs to be a higher percentage.
So
Right,
the
yeah.
density bonuses for the county kick in at 20% affordable. And I
Okay,
can't remember what they
but
kick
I know,
in for
but just
medium.
to say a percentage,
Mhm.
that could 2% could qualify.
No,
No, it wouldn't meet any of the
No,
requirements.
but I
of
buy
ours.
this definition.
Can
Yeah,
we make the language match the practice is what like if the practice is 20%, can we?
so the only problem with that is if we get specific on here and we decide
No,
to
I'm not
up our
saying-
minimum, then we're gonna have,
Then you would limit it. You wanna leave it as general here. as
yes,
possible.
this is
I was
general.
gonna say, not a number, but a word,
Density
like
bonuses.
higher or,
with a higher percentage of affordable
Yeah.
units.
if that's what you wanna
And
have.
then how do you interpret higher? Does that mean
Yeah, right.
higher than
Compared to what?
Higher than
I mean,
what?
is the point that it just
Yeah.
links it to
Higher
density
than,
bonuses? Cause could we just say with a sufficient percentage to achieve density bonuses or something like that? And that would just link it to whatever.
So those like those max densities were part of the discussion with the comp plan.
Right.
So what you are looking at is say, and we don't, those upper limits of densities, we don't
lost.
Sorry.
we don't grant those unless you have 100% affordable housing. So the question is, are you guys okay with 30 units per acre if it's 100% affordable?
Heck, yeah. I mean, but I'm looking around.
And we can look at the wording, but we want to keep it similar to all the other ones in the category. All the other ones on the
I don't
list.
necessarily think it needs a number, but just an indication that we want it to be higher
So
than lesser.
So that's something you want it higher in Village Center.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put that on the parking lot because that's really something we would do in an action to a policy.
Okay.
Like revise community-oriented development, so in Village Center, you can only do, like you can't do 20% affordable housing, you can only do this.
And how come it only goes up to 20 and walkable destination goes up to 24?
Village Center is the current way that it's written is intended to be a little bit lower density than what like a traditional downtown would be.
Okay.
So it's kind of a step up as you go from like most rural to most dense, most commercial. But I mean, all these numbers are up for discussion. Some of it is crunching it in our formulas to see like, could this qualify for community-oriented development? And so we'd have to look to see where it stops being feasible for a project, but we can definitely propose different numbers to look at. If you had a suggestion.
And just to make you aware, what's the most density we've had with community-oriented development? 20 units per acre?
I don't remember.
Yeah, like right now, we're sitting at developments that are 20 units per acre. It is very hard, especially out in the county where you have to provide parking. And you're dealing with stormwater, you're dealing with steep slopes it's very site specific what you can get out of a site as far as density.
But I noticed that there's 40 units per acre in the walkable destination center, if that's for affordable units.
And that had been 30. It's in red because we're proposing to bump it up. That doesn't mean that it's feasible that any developers could achieve that, but it's trying to get that limit up in
Yeah.
case they can make it work on a
So it
certain site.
was 30 and we're bumping it up to 40.
Is there any reason that we wouldn't do 40 in the village center as well?
The village center is intended to be a slightly less intense district.
Do you have a recommendation?
We just need a lot of housing and we need dense housing and this is where we're gonna put it, right? Like, we're not putting it in other, and so I would say if 40 is what we're putting in walkable destination, could we also put, I'm looking at everybody else, could we also put 40 in village center?
I think it depends on what else we're calling village center. We're
Right.
just looking at one section, what else are we naming village center?
The other part that's designated that way is where, isn't there one other section?
Yes, so we can talk about that. I don't think we did have some recommended changes. It's not gonna show it. Hold on.
Is it that other?
Okay, so here are,
It's right here.
here's the other village center area. Actually, we didn't have any proposed changes that I saw to that particular section.
The other section is where there's already East Haven.
Yeah.
The villas and the old Ingalls site, right?
Yeah.
And so there's really nowhere to put, I mean, I don't know if there's anywhere to put more housing there. Maybe unless we like seize Ingalls as public domain and never.
So here it is.
Cause that's East Haven and the villas right there, right?
Yeah, right, these two. And I mean, just to be really clear, there is flood, there's flood hazard areas in these areas, but at the moment, we have them listed as village center, future growth areas.
But
Same for
Ingalls
down
owns the middle, like how much of that does Ingalls own?
They
Yeah,
have
like
this
all-
property, or this property down here, and then this site.
They pretty much own everything except what's already developed for high density housing.
Mhm.
So the other village center is the only place that we would be able to put. So to me, that's an argument for making it 40. Even though I hear y'all saying that it would be hard for a developer to achieve that, at least if they could, we wouldn't.
Okay, so we've got that as a,
Yeah.
Why not?
Does anybody not like that idea?
can we get some thumbs up or down?
We actually, what are we saying then?
So we are talking about for the village center proposed use in this character area description, changing it to say up to 40 units per acre with a percentage of affordable units.
So when you're doing this exercise with other parts of the county, is affordable always in every part of the county?
Yes.
What do you mean, well, what do you mean is it in every part?
Well,
Like minimums or what?
yeah, minimums, like you're proposing here, that we have minimum of 40 units, 30 units or whatever. Is that
So,
everywhere or is
well,
that just us?
What this is saying is that in these specific districts where we want to encourage higher density, you are eligible for more density if you go through one of our programs like a community-oriented development program. So that's one of the ways that we can kind of get that higher density by incentivizing it with, the programs that we already have. We're not proposing a new program. This is kind of updating the upper limits of density for the programs we already have.
Saying you could build more units with incentives in these areas.
Yes. So right now, community oriented development, you can do, you can do what I think we're calling middle income housing, which used to be called workforce housing. And you can do affordable housing with and get density bonuses. So that is a program that is throughout the county. One of the focuses of the comp plan was affordable housing. We just did the bond. The commissioners have a focus on affordable housing. While I think there will be 3 community-oriented development, or maybe 4 community-oriented developments in Swannanoa, they're all over the county. We have some that are out in Leicester. I think we have one down in South Asheville. It is a program that is countywide.
So should we keep it consistent with countywide standards then?
Well, this would be changing the countywide standards. This is not specific to just Swannanoa.
So community-oriented development came before the comp plan. We will build on the success of that program and look at changes to that program as part of implementation of the comp plan in this place.
And I guess, is affordable housing different than subsidized housing?
So affordable housing is a specific definition, and I can get you guys the definition because I can never remember it. It's based on the median income. It's a HUD standard. If you want to call it subsidized housing, they do get tax credits. They do get money from us, from our programs to build that housing.
But there is subsidized housing doesn't meet the affordability criteria. Like workforce housing could get subsidies from some program, but that doesn't make it a type of affordable housing necessarily.
It's the incentives are during the building process, it's not like
They're not getting like rent subsidies.
No, they're during the building process, and then you do it through the deed. There's a deed restriction that they have to rent it affordably, either a certain percentage or like East Haven, the whole development is you have to rent this as affordable housing. There are some developments in the county where it's 20%.
It's
And
linked to income brackets.
It's
So it's like affordable has a definition that's linked to.
That was my next
To the
question, what's
HUD
affordable? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and
the
so
HUD
it's
standard.
linked
There's
to
a HUD
income
standard
brackets.
based on your
Yeah.
30%, 40%, 50, 60, 80% area median.
And it's been very successful. Community-oriented development has been very successful with affordable housing because on top of sort of what we give them, they get tax breaks, they get money from the federal government. That middle income housing or workforce housing, whatever you want to call it, that's more difficult to get people to incentivize to build.
I'll just say, just from people I've talked to in the community, and I 100%, I mean, I got kids that are trying to buy houses, so I get it, but there is a percentage of the community in Swannanoa that is worried because all they hear about is affordable housing and high, like apartment complexes, and they don't want the community to just go to that, and there's nothing else there. I'm just saying it for what it's worth. That's why I was asking the question. I'm trying to understand what the,
Rest of the county's doing too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
most
exactly.
of Swannanoa, based on this current version, is rural community
Correct.
designation. So we're spending a lot of time talking about high density, but we're only really looking at that
Yeah, that
very
70
limited
corridor.
corridor.
Basically clustering it on that.
Yeah.
It's a really small area and Ingalls owns a lot of what we're talking about
Right.
anyway. And
In
that's-
our group, we talked about the spectrum of housing, the needs that we need to have a mix of, with new development, we need a mix of housing. So that we can accommodate people who need something that, the word that I've heard used by a builder was attainable rather than
Yeah.
affordable. Just suggests that it's something that a first-time homebuyer could reach. But also, with an eye to the future, and just the tax base of the community, we don't wanna make it impossible for, or less attractive for somebody who wants to develop something in the mid-range or higher in certain spots to be able to do that.
And if you want to think about housing in this way, like if people bought, we are missing units, and if you build units in the mid-range and high range, it trickles down, maybe.
Supply and demand.
It lessens the demand and if you wanna think starter home or again, middle income home, and then the affordable home, it takes pressure off of those brackets.
But like that new apartment complex that's gonna go in on the horse farm, only a certain percentage of those units are gonna be for people at lower income brackets.
Sure.
And then some of them are gonna be for people at higher income brackets.
Right.
It's gonna be nice, like,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna have a pool, like, there's gonna be like garden apartments, like, some people are gonna wanna live there who can pay higher. And so that would all be possible, but it would be higher density along 70. And to me, like, when I hear this and I look at that Ingalls, that other part that we just looked at, I'm like, if that's the only thing we have like light purple on here is Ingalls owns most of it or it already has housing on it, then maybe we need to look back at the other one that we just talked about and extend it further west, like all the way down to Moffett Branch. Or, I mean, you know, like, I'm just like, if
It's a
we're-
logical thought.
if that's where we have to build like dense housing in Swannanoa,
So just remember that you can do, like, if you look at mixed use area 2 and mixed use area 1, and even mixed use neighborhood, they all have up to 30 dwelling units.
Okay.
With, like, the way that program is built, like, they all have up to 30. It's very much like, give us affordable housing or give us workforce housing and we'll give you
Yeah.
some density.
so basically that would also be the case in all that like light yellow that's a lot, like all the way from the western edge of our map, all the way to the six tax smokestack, basically. Except some of it would be, also include little, like, stores and commercial stuff.
All right, sorry to run us down that. I was just trying to understand.
So what came of that conversation? We have some homework to look at.
Then you're gonna up the units to
The
40.
note I had for
That's the only
that.
thing that we
Up
really.
the units to 40 and
All of it.
Okay.
In the village.
Okay, perfect. You're taking notes.
And coming back with options for what to name the village.
So, okay, so great. So, can we move on to, the area east of the town center where we've got, two different proposals. There's a section that is river corridor up here near what was the veterinary offices? Is that where that is? Okay, and also this one section, I don't actually know what's in this little section. It's further east down, US 70.
It's a car repair place.
Okay, so the proposal at the moment is to to change those from river corridor to mixed use 1. Really? Mixed use 1, these two little blips. One of them is in the kind of town center, the other one is further down the highway.
because we talked about in our group, actually, like, making the river corridor, we were acknowledging that some of what was in the purple was actually in the 500-year floodplain, which would mean it was supposed to be in the river corridor. And so, yeah, we were talking about kind of respecting the river corridor and that part that's purple right there. We didn't come to agreement about it, but we were kicking it around.
So we talked about the fact that these parcels house businesses that were thriving businesses. And if it becomes part of the river corridor, you know, those folks lose the value of their land. I mean, and that entrance right there at Whitson from 70, like that is sort of the entrance to Beacon Village. And I think that it's worth exploring, can they reestablish their thriving business and build in a flood resilient way there? Or, dry flood proof, just something instead of
So
ripping away the value of that property for the
So just to note, if you read the river corridor, and this is a good time for us all to look at that river corridor description and then the primary and secondary land uses, it does acknowledge that, I forget what it says.
Limited commercial that supports river, recreation, agriculture, and the immediate neighborhood.
So a vet is a perfect example of something that would support the immediate neighborhood, wants her vet back.
But maybe a gigantic car dealership might not be, with a ton of outdoor storage and materials right in the river corridor.
Does anybody know, now Beacon Vet said, Beacon Vet initially said they were coming back.
They are moving actually east, I believe.
They are,
Yeah.
so they're not gonna rebuild
But
on the
not
same
permanently,
location.
not permanently.
Oh, he's leasing the building.
Yeah, he wants to build back. I
Oh,
mean, that's the last
really?
time I talked to him.
Yeah, they're gonna
So,
build, they're planning
Really,
on
the
building.
question is, should these two, we're talking about these two properties right here. Should those be something where you could see a high density residential or commercial development? I know there's small parcels, but, or should they be river corridor where they would be to remain a lower intensity type of commercial, if that's what the
I
property?
guess my question would be, what is the process of rebuilding there or developing there? If it's a low intensity, if it's a river corridor, I wanna understand what are the obstacles to rebuilding there? Like really specifically understand what are the
So,
obstacles to rebuilding.
A good thing to think about is within we are sort of thinking about, we are already thinking about how we implement some of this stuff. So the steep slope high elevation overlay, we limited the uses you could do and we limited the size of buildings. So that's how we sort of limited the intensity of development in that overlay district. So you could see something that was like, one size we use is 10,000 square feet, right? So you could see something like if this turns into an overlay, we could limit the size of commercial structures to 10,000 square feet. Now, how they fit that building to meet flood requirements is a whole different beast. That's the flood ordinance. And when they have to do that or not is based, say you had another, say another county down east had a flood and a commercial building got wiped off the map and they wanted to rebuild. If it was completely wiped off the map down east where it's supposed to flood, then they would have to build it to current standards. Whether they have to build it to current standards is dependent on how much damage. From my understanding, commercial buildings, it's harder to get to that greater than 50% threshold that makes you meet the new standards. And it's, I'd say, easier maybe to meet the standards.
Well,
Is the standard tied to the old flood mapping though, or is the
So-
standard?
Our flood ordinance is always gonna be tied to whatever the current maps are. So they're saying we're gonna get new maps in 5 years?
Yeah.
And if floodplain increase, like if it's a 100-year floodplain increases in some places and decreases in other, like some people might be out of the floodplain after this event and some people might be in the floodplain.
And see, these two particular properties do have regulated floodplain on them. They're not just 500-year, they include 100-year.
Right now, we regulate the 100-year floodplain.
And that's why those two were carved out,
Cause they're not.
Yeah.
because they're in the 100-year. And so, but then the proposal for the river corridor was, what you were saying, Shannon, is that it was proposed everywhere else mostly to match the 500-year.
Everywhere else.
Except for those like whatever those parcels are to the west of those two we just looked at are also in the 500-year.
Yeah, because this section that we were talking about, should it be river corridor, is not in.
It's from Okidoki's to,
Yeah, it's not showing up in a regulated
Right.
floodplain.
So I think it's really hard to say, like, this should be part of an overlay without knowing what those restrictions are gonna be. Is it 10,000 square feet? Okay, then maybe that's fine, but we don't know that, so we're gonna make a policy decision without actually knowing what the policy is, and that's really a hard thing to do.
So we're trying to figure out where would we want to have some protections. And then in this next step, as we get into the March meetings, that's where we're gonna talk about the specific policies and actions that would make up this river
Yeah.
corridor.
Yeah.
So first, the question is, do we want it to be part of an overlay, or do we wanna just say, this is downtown, it's gonna keep being a downtown? And then we're gonna sit down and say, all right, we know where we want our river corridor overlay to be. What do we want it to say? What do we want it to regulate?
I kind of feel like that's flip-flopped a little, because again, I can't say that I think we should make this river overlay without knowing what the policies are. Like, how can we make that kind of decision without?
I don't
having
wanna
any idea?
impede anybody from coming back either.
Or
and owning
from
their
selling their
personal
property.
Correct.
Receiving value, like, yeah, I think you're talking about potentially devaluing somebody's existing property.
So that might be something, like, that is something to talk about, you know, if our policy is to build more resiliency in this area, we might talk about actions that, you know, limiting commercial development, but not limiting it too much, providing, and actually, the more guidance you provide and part of those actions, when we get to the nitty-gritty of, and an overlay is just an example of one way you can regulate that. There are other ways, there are other zoning tools we could use to regulate it, but those actions would be in front of the planning board, and the planning board would go through the process of the text amendment. And for something like this, like, for example, the first iteration of the steep slope ordinance, the planning board spent 6 months reviewing it, revising it. I think we went through maybe 10 different versions. They talked to experts and came up with what they came up with.
So there have to be other disaster impacted areas that have dealt with this exact same question before. And I am wondering if there is a way to accommodate allowing people who own the property, who like to come back and build their business, but also at the same time saying, we're not gonna include this area as a dense future development area because that is not wise, given that it's in the 500-year floodplain. Like, there has to be some other county in North Carolina that has figured out a policy that can meet both of those needs, right?
Say that again.
Like, can't we, did it make sense to
Well,
anybody
you're
else?
talking about you're talking about allowing them to come back and
Yeah.
rebuild, but limiting future use. But if you limit future use, you are then devaluing property if they want to sell it. So I just want to be really careful that I don't want to be part of something that devalues somebody's property significantly. I
Well,
feel
that's
really
gonna be true throughout the
uncomfortable about that.
entire proposed river corridor then. If that's what, like, it's
Which
not
we
just true for those 2 parcels or those 6, like,
We now
there's a-
have more questions, right? Because how does that impact the
We
local?
changed some of the river corridor
Right.
on our map for that reason.
Right.
Increase it or decrease it.
We decreased it on
Decreased
that
it.
side of.
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
That side of 70. And it's not that we.
Oh, are you talking
we don't wanna
about-
play
you're
fast
talking
and
about
loose
over
and see
here.
things.
Is this where the decrease? Okay.
Yeah. We have very limited
I'm just
space
saying
to
there
build.
has to be someone who would balance that.
We put
Yeah.
a pin on that
It's a great
particular
question.
property so that we can move to some of the other ones. We can come back to it. Is that possible?
What are you looking for?
Okay.
So, I mean, for now, we can work on the definition of river corridor. And you have to remember that it's like, the land use plan is a guidance, it's not regulations. And we can, if everyone agrees, we can take those properties out of river corridor.
I mean, which ones exactly?
Well, right now, we're just talking about these 2, right?
Yeah, but if you pull up the other
And
map,
then there's a conversation
little
about
section.
the Edwards Avenue neighborhood turning from river corridor to mixed-use neighborhood. And then that one section further down becoming mixed-use one.
Excavated out.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to carve out that one track. And I would like to understand what does the river corridor mean for a dense residential existing neighborhood where
They'd
many
be
people have gone back to
grandfathered in.
rebuild? like,
I mean, they're not gonna
So it would,
take housing away.
it would be, if you had a house, you could replace it with a house. Probably if you had a duplex, you could replace it with a duplex. If you wanted to knock down that neighborhood and build a 30 unit per acre apartment complex, that would be,
so it's understanding that. I think that, we're a little cart before the horse because we don't understand what the river corridor really means. Because you're telling me that, and that sounds good to me, but that's not
Well,
written as policy.
if you look, the density is very low density, so that means single family housing.
duplex.
That's what that means. Duplex,
Duplex.
'Cause you
single
can do
home,
Whatever
ADU,
Avenue already has.
that's it.
I mean, when I look at the definition of purple, it's very clear and it allows 16 to 24 units per acre, up to 40 with a density bonus. And I think it's dumb to put that in a 500-year floodplain. Like, I know nobody wants to think about it, but if you read the risk assessment for Swannanoa and flooding, like,
Well,
why would
We're
we
not talking about
put
making it
dense?
purple, we're talking about making it light yellow.
But there's a bunch of purple that's already purple on that map
That already flooded.
that
is
is
what you're
in the
saying.
500-year
that's what I'm
floodplain.
talking about,
And those two are in the 100-year floodplain. So you were
Shannon,
talking
can
about
you
flipping those
turn
to
on
yellow,
the-
not purple?
100
Okay.
Not yellow,
Both
or
of them,
orange.
actually.
It
Those,
was-
The dark yellow.
So
Mixed use.
Yes,
dark yellow is 10 to 20 units per acre, up to 30 per acre with a density bonus. Like, that's dense compared to
then-
what's there.
But then when they come, if they were to come and ask for a permit, it's in the flood,
Yeah.
it's in the flood whatever,
Yeah.
that we don't know what it is yet because we're waiting for
Well, yeah.
FEMA to tell us. But that would, even though it says you can have that here for that whole area, in the truth, you can't really have it right down there by 70 because it's in the 100-year
They'd have to
flood.
fill it in so that they weren't in the floodplain anymore, or they'd
Yeah.
have to elevate everything.
Right, or they have to not put an apartment building there.
As long as you got the cash.
Right, like,
That's what I mean, so
And I mean, yeah, it's a
you
lot to
could
think about.
theoretically do it if it was the high end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those 6 apartment buildings that got knocked out at
Yeah.
Moffett, like,
Something to remember.
those were elevated and not low income housing. I'm just saying, I don't want that to happen again right there, like, not to be the,
No, I hear you.
What, does it say it allows duplexes in the river corridor?
it
So
doesn't,
it says
doesn't
very low
specify. It says
density
very low.
single. And I think that in the lower village, there are already existing duplexes and we would want to preserve people's ability to rebuild and have duplexes there.
Very low density to Buncombe County at this point means duplexes. We allow,
'Cause you could have a duplex on 10 acres.
yeah.
It's still only 2 units. That's low density. So it really depends on the size of the lot. If you
Well, they're
put,
tiny lots, so would
Yeah.
a duplex on a 0.13 be considered very low density? That's my question
Yes.
specifically.
Yeah.
Cause it doesn't specify that here.
Okay.
Through our zoning ordinance, we do not have single family, we do not have single family zoning where you can only do single family houses. We have gotten rid of that. I just have to say, the city hasn't done it yet, but we did.
We're proud.
And every district in the county except the airport district, you can do 2 units per.
So by right, you
per
can do
lot,
2
yeah.
units per lot, okay. Yeah, then, I mean,
The elephant in the room is FEMA though.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause I mean, we could say all we wanna
We can do
say
what we want, but
and
they're
they
the
could just
ones-
shut down that whole
Yeah.
corridor 70 because it had freaking 10 feet of water on it.
shut down, meaning
You
what?
can't build here, you can't do anything.
Well, the only floodway, 100-year floodplain, 500-year floodplain, and then 1,000-year floodplain. FEMA works within the floodway, 100-year floodplain, and 500-year floodplain. Your ability to get flood insurance, you have to meet FEMA's standards. When they remap, every time they remap, it's gonna change the floodplain and the floodway, and those the 100-year, 500-year, and the 1,000. And depending on, and I am not, floodplain is not my forte. And when we do the policies and actions for the floodplain, our floodplain administrator is gonna come in so she can answer your questions. But when people will be knocked out of the floodplain and people will be knocked in the floodplain.
And just so you know, I just turned on the purple, that is the floodway. So when you talk about FEMA shutting people out, floodway is where they do not want construction of buildings.
They don't want anything in the
In the-
floodway, they
in
can't
the
move on its own,
purple. But in the 100-year, like,
which
I-
is,
It's the
Great.
river channel.
Yeah, that's
Essentially.
pretty much,
but in the 100-year, like I had a neighbor who had a house in the 100-year, it was destroyed. But they got a mortgage on that house and purchased it, but they just had to buy very expensive flood insurance.
Yeah.
And so that was what, FEMA didn't prohibit them from having a house in the 100-year, they just made it was very expensive.
yeah, I'm not saying,
Yeah.
so I'm looking at it from a commercial, so when you go past Lower Beacon and like Diamondback right there, everything is commercial up through there.
Yes,
So when you start putting all that in whatever it is, the
blue,
blue,
yeah,
then those people have a barrier to entry, and I own 4 buildings there, so
yeah.
I'm just saying,
The
yes,
commercial-
you
commercial,
can
yeah,
rebuild, but at some point you can't, because it's not feasible financially.
right,
So that's the same thing with the steep ordinance. Everybody was like, well, no, you can build there. Well, yeah, if you're a millionaire, you can,
right.
you know? So that's where I get a little like, well, FEMA's gonna do what they're gonna do anyway. I just don't think we should restrict that commercial corridor to the riverway any further.
So can I maybe make a suggestion that it's this, and this is commercial, right?
Yeah, but then it keeps going all the way, you know, the rest of Swannanoa.
Yeah.
At least to here, we
Yes.
bring it up to 70.
Yeah,
We
walkable
bring up
destination.
the walkable destination center, or if you guys, I mean, you can talk about mixed use 1 or mixed use neighborhood up to 70. I'm just throwing a suggestion out there.
Like the light yellow.
What did we did,
We
well,
did
like
one.
mixed use one, we
We did
wanna make
mixed
it,
use one,
yeah,
but we took it all the way up to,
right, all the way up to 70. We
There's
left,
neighborhood
we
commercial.
left
is
the
allowed
Edwards
in there.
Avenue section out though.
I don't know if that counts.
Well, I think for those parcels,
Make it be mixed use
they're
one.
right on 70. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
usable commercial land. I mean, someone decides to rebuild they're kind of rolling that they're choosing to take a risk.
correct.
But they're
I don't
also
wanna be
choosing-
telling them they can't take
That risk.
that risk.
Exactly,
If
if they
It's their
want to,
property and they're
more
gonna
power to
lose value, we're gonna.
But keep in mind too, if they choose to develop it for a bunch of housing, they're also putting all those residents at
Well, I
risk.
hear
So
you.
there's,
well-
So like that's the, yeah.
As well as everyone downstream.
And if it's in a flood area, aren't they already kind of devalued just because of that label?
Yeah, well, that's where, but
Maybe,
all those,
but there's
in
not a lot
Highway
of
70 where
buildable-
we're talking about Hipstone, My
Correct.
Shop,
Correct.
all that stuff down through there, they're not in the floodplain right now. There ain't no chance they're not going in the floodplain. We all saw what happened.
Right,
So we all, as business owners down through there, and from the county's perspective, there's a lot of people that work there.
Yes.
There's a lot of revenue that comes from Beacon to Kierfont or Ingalls
correct.
that is very much affected.
Yes.
So I don't think we should restrict it further on this committee because FEMA's going to do it.
so do we want to bring this purple up to about the edge of the Hipstone here and
I
bring
don't
all
think
of
the
this in?
purple, I think it's mixed use one.
Mixed use one.
Mixed use one.
That's Casey's land.
Could we get some consensus on if that
Oh, yeah, that's
is
right.
Mixed use
the
one.
direction we wanna go, mixed use one
Yeah.
for those 3 parcels? Okay, you got that?
Mhm.
Alright, what about the Edwards Avenue property here? There's a proposal to change it to mixed use neighborhood instead of river corridor. As well as all of this orange area
And
going,
above.
and above, going from mixed use 1 to mixed use neighborhood. So if we go back to the aerial,
It's basically just letting people. into
this would
different
be
things.
mixed-use neighborhood and including Edwards.
Yeah. I mean, how are we not gonna do that?
So that little tract you're pointing to is, looks like it's kind of excavated out and flattened, so it's probably more flood than the property around it.
Where are you talking about?
That little tract, that's the east one,
This one here?
you can see it's kind of excavated out, so it's obviously more
Yes,
floodable.
they
than
cut it here.
Yeah.
What is that?
Coming up
That is, so that
That's
first
definitely-
building is mine, where your cursor's over right now, that's White and Williams, HVAC. The next is a trucking company.
Yeah.
The next is, Barry's
That's all
PNC, which
Uh-huh.
Monterey College
Montreat, yeah.
trains, and then that's my shop right there.
So,
Nukem trees behind me.
sorry.
Mhm.
So the
And that's
concept
all
is
in
to
the
change that
blue?
entire
Well,
strip to
Nukem
mixed-use
Tree.
neighborhood.
They're up on the
Like
hill.
Pretty much this whole thing right here, mixed-use
I
neighborhood.
think it has to be, right?
Well, I think what we had was the orange goes to mixed use neighborhood, but where the blue was, that was gonna be mixed use.
Mixed
one.
use one.
Mixed-use one,
Yeah.
For just that one little piece.
Along that 70
That
corridor.
whole little corridor.
I mean, it's a couple
The
miles,
whole
it's not.
corridor.
And that includes
Any
Edwards
lot with
Avenue,
70
is what y'all are saying, is that,
Correct.
that includes the part of, the whole part of Edwards that flooded where people are trying to rebuild.
Yeah.
So is it that old Lytle Cove and above would be mixed-use one? Is that the cutoff line, basically? Right?
Probably, yeah.
And then everything below it down into this neighborhood would be
Yeah.
mixed-use?
Yeah.
Mixed use
Neighborhood.
neighborhood.
Neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah.
But it would,
along
but
along
this would
Old
be
Lido Cove Road,
Say that again?
along Old Lido Cove Road.
Yeah.
But then this would also be mixed use. Edwards would be mixed use neighborhood as well, instead of River Corridor.
Correct.
Okay, you
Yeah.
got that?
Where?
This
Yeah.
would, this whole like north, south section would be,
So here.
and down here would be mixed use.
No, you just said, so
You're not proposing that Edwards be mixed use one.
No.
No,
Mixed
no,
use
Yeah, so
neighborhood.
this section right here is neighborhood, and then,
oh,
okay. Does that take care of this section here? Did we get that right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's going on here in Lytle Cove? We got a little box highlighted for rural community.
It's right beside Vital Cove Road, but the creek is, especially now after the flood, the creek is a lot lower down than it was.
Mhm.
And the land goes from the creek up really, really steeply. It doesn't make sense to call that mixed-use neighborhood. It needs to be,
I wonder if it's based on the
it needs to be
rural community.
rural, whatever that
Rural
is.
community.
Where is that? Oh, here it is. Okay, so right now it's just cut based on the property lines. That's why it's like a weird shape, but it could just get cut across. Where is my map? Here we go. I mean, it could get cut across at some other point
And it's right up against the Lytle Cove Road.
down here, you mean?
No,
Cause this is the property line at the
there's
She's-
another property line in there.
It's southwest of where.
yes, this is the creek, or this, look at that topo line. Go back.
I got too many things open. Here we go. This is the contour line, right here. What are you looking at? I don't have the creek layers turned on,
Is it already?
but I could turn it on in here though. Let's see, streams. It goes north to south. Is this what you're talking about? That creek?
But I can't
I know,
see
it's like microscopic. Oh, there we go. Does that help a little bit?
Can you zoom in?
I'm gonna come up there.
There's a creek that goes from north to south through kind of the eastern side of the property.
That's correct.
Yeah, this guy in here.
So go back to the
It's back.
trip.
Okay, good.
I'm good.
It's farther. It's southwest on our map. Because it's down in, excuse me,
Go back to the,
What are you saying?
Where's that here?
Oh,
Where's that?
this is what, okay,
Yes.
Britton's saying it was actually this section.
It was right there, right?
I'm looking at the whole wrong section.
Yeah. It's right here.
What is it? It's mixed use neighborhood now? It needs to be rural community, you're
It's a
saying?
rural community. Where is it?
Okay, is the road the cutoff? Is Lytle Cove and
Yeah,
Twin Laurel?
well, actually, the line, the property line is just this side of Lytle Cove Road. The stake is in that man's front yard, but the
We're looking at,
main thing of the property is over there.
where are we looking at? Is it this?
The
this
property
one?
line does not run with the road.
Is it this
Britton,
big
show me
parcel
where
right
it is.
here?
I can't find it.
That's got a lot of streams going through it.
It's on
It
the
has
side.
So hard.
It's this piece right here.
Okay. So yeah,
It
right,
goes here, 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 like that.
okay, so that is mixed use neighborhood. I think you're, yeah, it's like this section.
Yeah.
So the proposal is to turn it to rural community.
Correct.
Anybody have a
It's right
problem
here.
with that?
I don't have any idea. I'd love to see
I
it.
don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I know nothing, but in whose land is that? Whose land are we gonna restrict? That's your land?
Is your land?
Yeah, well, go for it then. That's what you wanna do.
Whatever meeting wants, she gets.
I think we're like all thumbs
You wanna
up.
restrict yourself, then go
Whatever
for it.
meeting wants.
I can confirm it is a Styles owned property.
It's way too steep to build on. I mean, I know rich people build on steep land, but you
Okay, so
can't
we're
do
good with that.
anything else with it. You can't have a mixed use neighborhood on that land. The creek, from the Lytle Cove Road to the creek is a perpendicular drop,
Okay.
almost. And then it stands like that, and right now, it's in present use assessment for timber management.
Ah, okay.
It's in the agriculture. It's in the agriculture.
I don't think anyone's gonna fight you on that one, Dee Dee.
No, as long as you aren't proposing somebody else's land, that's no
No,
problem.
that's mine.
Alright, so the next one is really weird because it's currently protected public land. It's the prison, jail, what do we call it?
This is what you call
It's
it.
a prison. There was a lot of public support for recommending a different land use, though that's up to the state. But if we were gonna have a recommendation as part of this plan about what it could be in 20 years, right now, we've got a portion of it as mixed use 1. There was a proposal to extend that to be even further up into the property.
When you say there was a lot of public support, you mean in the engagement process?
In the design workshop, we had the highest concentration of high-density housing stickers were on that property.
Well, we already have high-density housing there. It's called a prison.
Yes.
And
I talked to a number of those people, and I also talked to
Yeah.
Al Whiteside, who indicates there is movement toward more housing there versus prison, so they may actually buy that. I don't know.
The county has been poking the state about that property.
Should.
So
Is
the,
it fully utilized as a prison?
No.
No, they only use the back part.
It used to be a tuberculosis sanatorium.
so
It
the,
won't be on the brochure for the housing development.
see where it's just kind of cut off arbitrarily. That cutoff line could really go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is more of a like, wouldn't it be cool if?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if?
Instead of the residential neighborhood, you were saying mixed use one, so that you could build in like little grocery stores.
Yeah, or
as
whatever.
well as
To serve that
affordable
side of the
housing, so
community.
people could walk to it.
So where would the cutoff be between protected public land, which is the prison, versus this area?
I think that would depend on the prison,
Yeah,
what happened to
I
Yeah,
mean,
what's the state?
I
See
feel
what the
like
county's
it's
looking at.
really kind of rash for us as a group to try to answer that question without more information about that site. Like, I don't see where the boundaries of the part of the property that's currently utilized by the Department of Corrections or whoever they are, like we would just need more information.
So like, could the existing prison stay and a
Right.
part of the parcel be used for the mixed use one? makes sense to me, but we don't know where to draw that line because that's gonna depend on what kind of setback is required.
Yeah, I think we would need a lot more information.
Is that,
than
how do you wanna
just
do
looking
it?
turn on, this.
Zoning?
Yeah, turn on zoning, because I think part of it why it's protected public land is it might be,
Oh God, where is it?
turn on the layer.
I mean, it goes all the way to the 4-H camp, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just owned by the state.
So it's PS, public service.
But do you have the parcel layers on? Zoom out a little.
Yeah, these are the lines, they're red. It goes all the way up to here,
Is that,
which like cuts across these buildings.
who owns that? Is that ours or theirs?
No, state of North Carolina, yeah, it's theirs.
So the state owns a lot more of the land than what they're utilizing, so it isn't actually necessarily about getting rid of the prison and replacing it with housing. It could be about adding housing to the unused parts of the, and that's what I feel like we don't actually have the information we
Well,
need to talk about.
And I think that's what most people
Right,
are saying they wanna see happen, is
Right.
adding, not necessarily taking away the prison.
yeah, and I mean, I don't wanna like open this door too wide, but the women who live at that prison are actually also members of our community in Swannanoa. And they're not represented at this table, and yeah, they live there. And so I would like to just acknowledge that.
Let me just point out though, that there's no benefit in it being protected public land. That's just means it's restricted, there's no discussion about any future thing happening on that site.
So I'm just gonna read you the category description. It's no or extremely limited development is anticipated, includes federal, state, or county government-owned land that is maintained in a natural state and lands with a publicly owned conservation easement.
But we don't have to apply that to the entire part that the state owns, right?
Well, this is saying, like, it's up to the state whether we get to put housing there or not. And right now, the state's probably, like, unless the state gives us permission, it's not gonna happen.
It's
And the
just
commissioners are very, like, you talk to Al, like, this has been a discussion internally within the county for a long time, because not only does the community see the potential, but the county sees the potential. But
He indicated at our public meeting just to me that there is movement taking place now.
Yeah.
What,
So with that in mind, would you all as a committee want to recommend what it could be in the future if the state decided they didn't wanna use the whole entire thing as a prison?
so this might be a better one to put as an action, as opposed to change the land use plan map. As an action, just acknowledging the potential and the public support of utilizing that land better and putting housing on there.
And then we can say how we would like it, how we
It's just
think
not-
it's best used versus just the,
It makes sense.
it's in the light yellow, which is the neighborhood.
It's just not the
In
highest
this
of
current
best.
So maybe-
proposal, but in reality, the whole thing is protected public land for the adopted version.
How many
So,
acres is it?
Mixed use one might allow more
It's a lot.
correct there.
I don't know.
Choose one. Oh, I can tell you how many acres.
Oops. Make sure. 156 and some change.
It's a
So
good-
does the entire 156 acres have to be put in the same category is what I'm asking.
No, that's not how we're doing it anywhere, really. I mean, some of these categories follow contour lines, street lines, the property lines. Some of them are following the middle of the river. So it's
And
up to you how you wanna do it.
Just remember that this map isn't set in stone. So if behind the scenes they figure out how to put housing there, like, we can change the map. But right now, it's an extremely restricted property that's owned by the state.
I would say that I would be more comfortable with putting some of it in whatever color we're talking about that allows housing, but not endorsing displacing the prison. Like, I think if we carve out what's currently used for the prison and leave it as it is, then that does not endorse displacing the prison. If we talk about putting the entire thing in light yellow, then I feel like we have to have that conversation about that this group of people is endorsing displacing the prison.
So the section you have now in yellow.
It's drawn arbitrarily, it's just cut right
That's not there,
across.
the prison action or.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering,
Yeah,
where
where
is
is
the
the actual
prison?
prison?
It's further back.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I think
right
that's
now
all
that
prisons.
prison
That's
has
one
a
property.
relationship with AV Tech, they have a relationship with Warren Wilson College, they have a relationship with several community gardening organizations, like they are a part of our community. And it's a bigger conversation if we say we wanna prioritize that land for housing and there's already something there.
So do we wanna just make it a recommendation that something like in coordination with any future changes to the property by the state, we would
So
promote,
So right
advocate
now,
for
I have it
housing?
on the parking lot to maybe put an action under the housing policies, calling out the potential for that site to be some sort of housing, some sort of affordable housing. And that would just build support for the commissioner's case.
Yep.
For the push to get the discussions going with the state to maybe make that happen.
So do we need to make a note to just leave it as PPL for now? PPL, what is it?
I mean, if, like,
Can we
it
go
sounds
back?
to
Like,
me
why
like
did you
everybody
carve
would
out that
support
one
putting
section?
part of it, recommending that
Like,
part of it.
why did that become
Yeah,
the
like
cutoff line?
where is the prison?
The prison's up.
I think you
Is it in
can
the green or is it in the yellow is what I'm trying to figure out from where you carved that out. Is it up there in the green?
I carved out where the stickers were, and that is as far into
Oh.
researching as I got.
Okay.
'Cause I did not want
Okay.
to start making a feasibility assessment on that property.
If we can see a version of it that shows us roughly how many acres are currently being utilized for the use that the state is using it for, to me, that would give me, you know, I'm thinking about, there's like, the prison chaplaincy program has been run by multiple churches in the Swannanoa Valley for decades. Like, there's a lot of people who have deep relationships with people who live in the prison and with that system. And so I don't feel comfortable saying what that site should be used for without talking to them, unless you carve out the prison.
Is this the way it is now, or did you change that?
This is the current proposed version. The old map is all dark green. The current adopted version is all dark.
I think maybe we should
Just
go
press
back
it, yeah,
to dark
just have this.
green.
I was gonna do an action.
So we're gonna change that back to dark green and do a written action about the potential of that
Of
property.
part of the property.
Yes.
Oh, that's all I
There's
wanna
a lot of
clarify.
other buildings.
But I think we could switch part of it to yellow, which there might be a lot of support for around the table. All I'm saying is like the whole 156 acres doesn't have to be treated the same way.
Well, if we get the footprint of the active
Yeah.
prison site, then we can make a better judgment where that yellow should be.
Cause it might be 146 acres, like, it might actually be, it's probably most of the land, and so,
There's a lot of wood in
Yeah.
the area up
yeah.
towards green still. Doesn't look under it.
So it sounds like we need to do a little bit of research.
So why don't we come back to you for this particular property with what the action might say? And then you can look at it again at the next meeting and make a decision regarding what you wanna do about the land use plan.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the last section that I'm aware of is further northeast of that. Currently, there's a big area that is mixed use 1, and there's proposals to change some of it to mixed use neighborhood. And we are looking at this area in here. Hold on, let's see. I wish I could do side by side. So yeah, it's kind of like pretty much this whole upper half here. Is that right? Whose group was this?
This is group 2.
Group 2, it looks like maybe it's kind of like from Owen High and this neighborhood up, mixed use neighborhood is the proposed change?
In there. Yeah,
Is that y'all's group?
yeah,
That was us.
Okay.
Is that is that basically the cutoff line is like this neighborhood and then the high school and above would be mixed use neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say, you gotta think future, you gotta think 20 years from now, you gotta think potential. So water, it's watered, it has access to water and sewer, it's not in the floodplain, and it's flat. There's not a lot of that land available in Buncombe County. Well, it's flatter than other parts of the county.
From what to what?
Wait,
didn't we carve out two
mixed use
sections?
area
I think we
one.
did neighborhood
And
on
you
one, and
changed
then
it
the
to
other
mixed
section,
use
we
neighborhood?
left orange.
Which is
It's
slightly
where
lower
Eden
density.
Glen is, yeah, cause Eden Glen is right there, like that's already on this side of Lake Eden Road, right?
So that was just to make it slightly lower density?
It's also a different focus. Mixed use neighborhood is a residential, primarily residential focus. Mixed use one is saying this area has some potential for commercial development.
And the neighborhoods, like the big neighborhood is zoned R1,
Oh, do you want me to?
and actually across the street is all zoned R1 too.
So pink is public service, so that's high school and below the neighborhood, and then yeah, here's R1. We've got a little R3 up where the manufactured home park is. There's some conference resort mixed in. This is R2. It's kind of a hodgepodge in there.
Where's the orphanage? Where's the
That's the.
children's home?
That might
Isn't
be,
that
isn't,
that's
yeah,
here.
that's
That's
public
that-
service.
Public
that pink
service.
Didn't they have a ton of landslides?
Where, the children's home?
Yeah,
Turn on the topo.
Yeah, they did. They did have a landslide.
they did.
I mean,
They had debris flow.
I think there's landslide risks in
It came
several
up
parts
from,
of
it
that.
came up from
Yeah.
higher on the
Remember, there's
mountain.
a lot of weight.
It came down right down to it.
Oh, I don't have landslide on that one. Is there landslide in the?
I can see it from my house.
I mean, I remember.
Debris flow, yeah.
I mean, maybe it had landslides not associated with a known landslide area.
Turn off
Yeah,
zoning.
there was a lot of that going on.
I mean, they did have landslides.
They
though.
did have a
That's-
debris
yeah.
flow that
Yeah,
came down
right.
to
A lot of
their
the houses,
place.
buildings were
Right.
wiped out.
They
We're
lost
talking
a lot of
about
structures.
this here?
Turn on the aerial.
What aerial?
Is this the public one?
This is, yeah, you want me to go to
You have the
mine?
Stelline imagery, because then you can really see where there were landslides.
Yeah, I don't know. So how
Are
does
you
that?
on public
I'm on
access?
public access, yeah.
Okay, so turn on Hope.
We're on post Helene.
Is that the
This
one?
is
Yeah.
this is the post Helene data.
So is it maybe it happened, is this the landslide? I think that might.
Well, this is the quarry.
That's the quarry.
Yeah. I don't see,
It was on the residential part of the children's home property, I think. If, somebody correct me if that's not.
is this part of it too?
This is the residential part. Maybe behind it? Is that it looks like maybe a retaining wall collapse.
I mean, there's some river or stream, like, maybe there was something
Did
going
they
on with
lose
the
buildings?
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn on the next set of aerials.
I'm in the public access.
No, you need to be in ours.
I'm not in ours. I'm on the public site.
I need you to be on ours.
Okay.
Because those ones have the post and pre-Helene.
Okay, hold on.
So we can see if there
Well,
were
this is
lands.
the 2025.
There was
That's
a massive landslide at the Black Mountain Home for Children, causing severe damage to several buildings, including residential and apprenticeship housing.
Hold on, stop messing with my computer.
170 children and staff.
Okay, so here's this. We're gonna turn on, now we're in the staff's version of it. And so here's the pathways. But this is not gonna be an updated, I mean, they might have had landslides that are not in any known, because here's landslide over here.
Yeah, and here and here.
But
The
that, yeah, they probably had landslides outside of any known landslide hazards.
Go to the aerial then.
Yeah,
Great, there's also unknown landslide.
yeah, that's
They
correct.
have the special
Absolutely.
landslide.
That is correct.
2020, this
There were
is
some
coastal
new
lean, this is
ones,
what we were just
and
looking
that's gonna always
I mean, in
be
the
the way it
risk
is.
assessment, there's already like 2,900 parts.
Maybe there? Yeah, that's not near, oh, was there a building there before? Let's see.
But
We got it as an email.
But see-
No, that's parking lot. Was that a building?
10,000 years
I'll
ago,
send it to you. I think.
Already
I
had a
own
lot
it.
of cottages.
Yeah.
How does the answer to that question, does that have something to do with whether to move it down to mixed use neighborhood or not?
I just wanted to know if there were landslides throughout those parts that we were talking about,
Okay.
like, because it seems like that would affect what we would want to.
So if that area
Right.
is it mixed use?
Turn on the
one
hazard.
Because that's what the community designated with their stickers?
We didn't ask them which land use categories we wanted. We asked them what level of housing density, where do you wanna see future growth or conservation? We asked them about transportation priorities and that kind of stuff. So some of this is based on staff looking at, all right, this is, people wanna keep growth restricted to these kind of areas where there's sewer, where it's flatter, where it's out of hazards. When we take all that stuff out, what's left for development?
Because if it's mixed use one, you're talking about, yeah, being able to build a big apartment building or.
Mobile home park.
Well, at mixed use
Well,
neighborhood,
maybe
at
not level
18
one.
units per acre, you can do a smaller apartment.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess my question is, when you asked people in the community engagement and they put stickers on where they wanted to see high density, was this area stickered or did you guys choose this area because you know that it would support it?
there's our, you got that
Yeah.
result? Yeah, here we go. You guys should have this in your packets if you wanna pull it out.
well, one thing is a big, one
there it is.
section of that is the high school.
So that area is high density to the west of Lake Eden Road and then medium density. Let's see, I think that children's home is low density and then everything around it to the east of Lake Eden came out medium. To the west of Lake Eden Road came out high density. Are you seeing that? I think you went past it.
And that was based on where the stickers were placed.
This is just stickers without any staff intervention is what these.
Did people understand what medium density meant?
We had the photos, well, we had these pictures in the next question that had kind of examples of what that could look like. Did they understand what those photos meant though? I don't know.
Because if it's mixed use area one,
What is it now?
up to 30 units per acre seems a lot bigger than this medium density photos. And I'm just trying to drill down to like what people's expectation was there.
I mean, part of, you are reviewing these, the planning board is reviewing these, and then we have another round of public input while they're.
Right now, it's mixed use neighborhood on the east side and it's rural community on the west side. Oh, but wait, what's happening up here? It's purple and then it goes into an institutional. Oh, I'm not sharing?
Because to me, medium
Well,
density
in the
looks
first
like.
place, part of it is the high school,
Right.
okay?
Where did I
That's
have
not ever gonna be anybody's neighborhood. That's the high school.
Okay,
So
here
the
we go.
county owns that property, and the county is looking at county-owned property
Awesome.
for affordable housing.
Let's like light that up as red as you could make it.
Property we're talking
The high school property.
So they're gonna make a housing on the high school property? Is that what you're saying?
If
I'm
there's-
saying they're evaluating it. They're evaluating all county-owned property for affordable housing.
So if they put housing there, where are they gonna put the high school?
Great.
Isn't it just that they're looking at unused portions of
Unused
school properties?
portions.
If you like-
Unused portions of school properties.
They would remove the school, they would look at unused.
Put anything on that.
So you have a housing next to the,
Yeah.
to the,
Well, I have mixed use.
In the
One-
end zones.
So there was a proposal to change this to mixed use neighborhood, if we look at what it currently is in the adopted county comp plan, it is mixed use neighborhood on that eastern side. It's rural community on the western side. So that's what it is right now. So the question is, should we change it? Do we keep it the same? Does it need a little tweaking on certain areas? What's the direction we would want to go in this area?
Does nobody in this group lives over there? Like none of us live in that area, so we don't know what people in that community think. Well, but, I mean, it looks like it's already pretty dense.
I mean, we're talking about moving it from the current mixed use neighborhood into mixed use 1, which would allow
A little bit more density.
but also potentially commercial, right?
It's already in,
Commercial and retail. I mean, that's the question for me.
on
It's
this,
a neighborhood area, are we gonna put commercial? It's a residential area.
on this map,
Do we
it's,
want-
it's
Do they
already,
want?
on this map, it's already in mixed use 1.
Is that the proposed?
That's what they're
You're looking at the
proposing.
proposal.
Say adopted or proposed on here. Adopted's current.
It seems like
okay.
it should
have
stay
to be-
residential. If that means that we put it in mixed use neighborhood, then it should.
Yeah, that's the current one that you're looking
So
at,
do we
Dee.
wanna do mixed use neighborhood instead of mixed use 1?
I mean, that was the
my suggestion.
That was the suggestion.
That was the
yeah.
suggestion.
Because it's
For all of
already
it?
residential.
Right.
Because the issue with mixed use 1 is then you start bringing in commercial and
That's not,
It's
that's
residential.
not where we
It
should
needs to
start.
stay residential.
So based on where this is circled, this is already mixed use neighborhood. So I'm just seeing this one little section up here, wrong map, which would be, is the proposal to change this to also be mixed use neighborhood then?
what did you guys have it on the,
Currently, it's rural,
yeah, but what was it on the map we were looking at?
mixed use 1.
Mixed use 1, yeah, so I think the proposal was to
Yeah.
make it mixed use neighborhood.
And is that true for the high school as well, or just this section of properties up here?
It was just that section.
Yeah, just that
Okay.
section that
We
is
didn't really
already,
consider the high school.
Yeah, it was
It's
just the
already
section
residential.
where all the housing
whatever the
was.
county wants to do about high school.
Option to take the high school.
I think just
It's like
for
a monopoly.
consistency, change that all
Yeah.
to mixed use.
Put a whole.
I mean, mixed use.
So can we get consensus on that area being mixed use neighborhood?
Yeah. Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 10, okay. Thanks.
Gotta get you your numbers.
Those were the only ones that I heard when we looked at the maps. Did we miss any that any groups had recommended changes to?
I have a question on the walkable destination center, since I own some of that land up there, and as we're talking about just wanting to get as much housing opportunity, I'm just curious what, for like the maximum of 40 units per acre, is that kind of in the box of that medium density? Does that mean, you know, we definitely have housing as a, you know, part of our, what we want to do with that land. And I had envisioned, you know, being able to go 3 to 4 stories high and get a lot of housing in there at some point.
So
And if we're
for,
talking about 20 years, you know, like what's the
for,
restriction there?
4 stories, Shannon and I just talked about this, you can get 40 units per acre.
I mean, it's so dependent on the design though, because if you are restricted in where you can put your parking and you have to go higher, you know. Okay, so at 12 units per acre, which is the standard density for all of the county right now, all of our apartment complexes, with the exception of some of the density bonuses, they're all developing those 3 to 4 story apartments at 12 units per acre. If that gives you some context.
All right, that makes sense.
There are some questions about whether our fire departments can accommodate higher ones because of the height of our ladder trucks, of how high they can service those buildings. But we're not getting into like that level of detail.
And it's all how you design the building, it's also building code and whether or not you wanna like,
Sprinkler it.
where you wanna sprinkle it, whether you wanna build it out of steel or wood, and whether or not you want an elevator.
Makes sense. Doesn't sound too restrictive for being able to get max.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Cause we can talk about attainable too, some of that is like building just smaller square footage, one bedrooms as well, you know, like different sizes, different shapes.
Yeah,
Doesn't sound overly restrictive.
We are not gonna get to transportation tonight.
I realized that a long time ago. We did not get to transportation.
Okay, our small group figured it all out.
Yeah,
Matt
that's
just took
true.
Matt Barker's notes.
We're not gonna get to transportation. We are gonna ask you to please review the materials.
Yeah.
Look at them, and think about stuff you wanna change, and I'm gonna ask you to bring back 3 things you wanna change for each of those maps.
And we can continue talking about it on March 16th, correct?
Yes, we're gonna do that. We're gonna revisit the vision statement, and we're gonna look at policy problems.
Oh, here's the one with all the,
Okay, which
maps that we reviewed.